Hello and good morning. My name is John Barley and welcome for today's sales advice in Farming Simulator 19. Our today's topic are the slurry tanks and all the equipment which comes under the category of slurry tanks in the game as well. And as you can see here, it is again a lot of equipment. We had some categories with a lot of equipment before, thinking about the cultivators for example, but there were only cultivators. So there were lots of cultivators, but there were only cultivators. But here in the slurry tank category, you have so much different equipment. You have the slurry tanks themselves. You have the drag hoses. There are slurry tanks which do have a drag hose as a standard attachment, which you cannot switch off. You have slurry tanks with no attachments. You have slurry tanks as a what's it called? As a field side container, or as only for bringing the slurry to your fields. You have the cultivators with slurry functions, and you also have the injectors right here. So there are so many different pieces of equipment which come under this category, and it's really a lot to handle. I will use some words during this description with regards to what the slurry tanks can do. And we will grab this John Deere over here to show what they can do. So first, when the slurry tanks have an auger function, there it comes up. So we have an auger function pump. So I can see it in the bottom left corner. I can pump from my slurry tank into another tank, or we can also have the suck function. So I can suck the material out of that semi tank here into my slurry tank, and which is attached to my tractor. So this is when I'm talking about auger sucking and pumping functions. Then we have an unloading function, just like here. So you can go to a sell point or your BGA, and you can unload your slurry tank to the sell point and get some money for it. Up right corner, 150 euros. I just sold a little bit of the slurry. That's the discharge function, which I will describe. And we also have the spreading function, which is simply that it's spreading the slurry out of its bag. These are the words which I'm going to use during this presentation. And I think we shall get right into it right after I backed up that slurry tank here where it belongs. So we will get right into it with the slurry tanks, which are solely tankers and which are designed to bring your slurry to your fields, where you can then fill it into your actual slurry spreaders. We will start with this Kotte FRC tanker. It has 55,000 liters of capacity, 35,000 euros to buy. No, it's 25,000 euros to buy. I'm sorry, 25,000 euros to buy for 55,000 liters. So this how I evaluated is purchase price divided by liters, and we have here 45 cents per liter. Incredibly cheap, but basically it's something which has not that much functions as other slurry tanks in the game. So like it sits here, this is how it sits when it's not attached to a vehicle. That's why the wheels are so high up in the actual body. If I attach it to a tractor, just like so, it lifts itself up and can then be driven around. This tanker can neither spread, of course, it's a tanker, but it can also not discharge at your BGA, so you cannot use it for selling your slurry, and it also only has a sucking function. So if you back up a slurry tank next to it and I'm sitting in this tractor which is attached to that slurry tank, you cannot pump material from the slurry tank from this tanker into a spreader which maybe stands next to that tanker, simply because it does not have any PTO attachment. You can see it here. It's just attached to that trailer, no PTO. It simply does not have any pumping function, any pump or something like that in it. It can theoretically suck out of a trailer which is standing next to it, but actually that's not this tanker sucking, but it's more like the tanker next to it pumping the material into this. So this is basically just one large bucket for your slurry, and it has in general basically no real function other than, well, containing the slurry. Next up we have this one here, the Horsch Slurry Tanker 21,000. As you can see, it's a trailer for a semi-truck. 21,000 liters of capacity, 31,000 euros to buy, so €1.48 per liter. This can, of course, it cannot spread, it's not a spreader, and it also cannot discharge, what I really find a little bit of sad, because I really like the look of it and the size, because it's so short. It's really easy to maneuver, but also with this one you cannot take it to your BGA or other sell point for slurry and sell the slurry in it, but it can overload as well. It can suck and pump for overloading material. Next up we have the most expensive of the slurry tankers. This is the Cotte TSA 30,000 liters of capacity, 72,000 euros to buy. Also a tanker for a semi-truck or a dolly. This one cannot spread, of course, but it can discharge, so you can use it. These 30,000 liters, you can go with them to a BGA or other sell point and sell the whole content of that tanker. And it can also suck and pump. And I really like that filling indicator glass pipe here, which shows how much material is in it. This is a nice feature to that trailer. Yeah, that's it with regards to the pure tankers. Next up we will look at these injectors. We have here the Samson Agro TD12 and here, well, the Horsch Injector 12. Both of them have 12 meters of working width, and in real life I'm quite sure they have a certain a very good function. If you cut the ground open and put the slurry into the soil with that so deep into the soil and not just spreading it on the surface, I can understand what these are used to in real life, but here in the game they basically have the same function like the drag hoses, which we will look at in a second. And this kind of makes them a little bit redundant in my point of view, because you have a 12-meter injector, but you can also use a 12-meter drag hose, or 50-meter, which is the smallest drag hose. But it's yeah, a little bit strange for me to explain why I should use these. The only thing which makes sense is the Samson Agro, because it's very cheap. It's only 10,000 euros to buy for 12 meters. So we are talking about 833 euros per meter. The Horsch, on the other hand, is 32,000 euros to buy for 12 meters. And I thought, why is it that much more expensive? So I did a little bit of testing, had a slurry tank, attached it, just took one trip from up there down here, one line, and see how much slurry they used. And the Samson Agro used 2,207 liters of slurry, and this one used 2,146 liters of slurry. So it's up to you to decide if this lower consumption really pays out the 22,000 euros of price difference. But what you can see here very well is the way all these attachments attach really nice to each other. If I just disconnect it, you see the black slurry hose disappears, but if I connect it again, there the black hose comes up again, and these are really fitting really nice together. These are totally interchangeable, so we have here a Horsch injector and we have a Sunhammer slurry tank. It fits to each other just like it should, and that's basically the same for all other equipment. So all these hoses really hook up no matter which device you combine with which slurry tank. Moving on to the cultivators. The cultivators, which can be attached to your slurry tanks, which will cultivate your fields, but also spread the slurry while cultivating. We start here with the Sunhammer Zundisc and the Sunhammer Vibro Grubber. Both have 6.2 meters working width. This one is 28,000 euros to buy. This one is 34,000 euros to buy, or 34,800 to be exact. And I asked myself again, why this price difference? So I did the same thing, took them up there, just took one route down with the one and one route down with the other. That's why these are dirty. And I came up with 1,279 liters for the Zundisc and 1,132 liters for the Vibro Grubber. So once again, up to you to decide if this difference in efficiency is something you are willing to pay that extra money for. Next up we have the Amazon KTOS 6002 with the Syncult slurry adapter. This is this one here. This is 6 meters, so a little bit narrower than these two, and it's 36,000 euros to buy. Price performance wise, if we divide the purchase price with the working width, we are talking about 4,500 euros per meter for this one, 5,612 euros for this one, exactly 6,000 for this, and for the last one, the Samsung Agro SD700, it's 7,571 euros per meter. This one is 7 meters wide, so a little wider than the other three, but it's 53,000 euros to buy. These cultivators do not necessarily have to work with a slurry tank. You can also use them as a attachment to your tractor with the 3-point link and use them as simply only as cultivators. When we look at the price ratio here, talking about the Zundisc, 6.2 meters of width, and if I compare it to another 6.2 meter, which would be this one here, the Treffler TG 1650. It's also 6.2 meters wide, 49,500 euros to buy. Of course, it's a trailer, so it's a little bit more expensive to manufacture. That's why the prices are higher, but you can also use the 6.2 meter Sunhammer Zundisc if you only want to cultivate your fields. Yeah, that's it with regards to the cultivators. Now we will move on to these slurry tanks, which do come as a standard with a drag hose attached. We have here the Joskin Modulo 2, 15,780 liters volume, 12 meters working width with the drag hose, 62,500 euros to buy. For these I evaluated the for the evaluation I divided the purchase price by the volume in liters and the working width divided by the purchase price divided by the working width in millimeters, and I took the average of both these values and came up with 4.58 euros for this one and 5.50 euros for this one. This is the Van Huy's Premium Integral 2. It's 30,000 liters, a 30,000 liter tank with a 30 meter wide drag hose attached, and it's 165,000 euros to buy. This, with regards to these two slurry tanks. Now we will move on to the slurry spreaders, if I would like to say it like that. Oh yes, something I forget to mention. These, of course, can spread the slurry because they already have the attachment. They can both discharge into cell points, and they can both suck and pump overload to other slurry tanks if you wish to do so. Next up, we have these 3 slurry tanks here. These are slurry tanks which spray the slurry over that nozzle here. We just saw it before when I demonstrated that Zunhammer tank. You have that nozzle here, so they spread the slurry just out of their bag themselves. This slurry tank here has this nozzle here, which swings side by side and spreads the slurry, and the same thing does that IT runner attachment, or that IT runner slurry tank. This IT runner tank is the tank with these spreading nozzles with the best price performance ratio. This tank has 15,000 liters of capacity, 12 meters of spread width, 34,000 euros to buy. I evaluated these exactly the same way like I evaluated these two, and I came up here with a value of 2.55 euros for the IT runner slurry tank, and for the tank only. Of course, you need that IT runner trailer to operate it, but there are so many different ways how you can move that slurry tank around. You can take a truck which has that IT hook, or you have different trailers to use which can be found in the mod-up, so that's why I only evaluated the tank, and the price for the actual trailer also split up the more IT runner stuff you use. So that's the IT runner tank. Then we have this Kotte slurry spreader here, the VE8000, 8,000 liters of volume, 9 meters of spread width, 23,000 euros to buy, so 2.72 euros per liter and meters of spread width, or centimeters of spread width. And last of these 3 is the Zunhammer SKE 18.5 RUD, 18,500 liters capacity, 14.8 meters spread width, 65,000 euros to buy, so €3.95 per liters. All of these slurry spreaders, of course, they spread because they have the nozzle in the back, but they also discharge into cell points, and they also suck and pump into other slurry tanks when you want to. So this Zunhammer is a little bit special because, as you can see here, it has an attachment. So the Zunhammer can also attach to other devices, just like the, for example, the drag hoses or the cultivators, just as you want. But it also can discharge without anything. This is the only slurry tank which can provide you with both options if you wish so. And I ask myself, okay, we have the Zunhammer tank which spreads at 14.8 meters, and we here have the Zunhammer Glide Fix 15, so the drag hose for that actual slurry tank with 15 meters and 32,000 euros to buy. So why shall I invest these 32,000 euros extra? So I took the tank, went up that field right over there at the end where the forest is, and took one line only with the tank and made another line only with the glide fix attached. And it resulted in the fact that the glide fix used 6,014 liters, and without the glide fix we are using 5,883 liters. So these 20 centimeters of more width, which will provide this drag hose, resulted in 200 liters of more consumption of slurry. So once more, totally up to you whether or not to decide if you're willing to pay that. Speaking about these drag hoses, this glide fix here has 32,000 euros to buy, 50 meters of working with, so we're talking about 2,133 euros per meter. The other two drag hoses which are available is this Horsch drag hose 36 and the Samsung Agro SBH436. Both have 36 meters of width. This one is 35,000 euros to buy. This one is 53,000 euros to buy. So we have looking here at 1,472 euros per meter, and here 972 euros per meter. So the question rose up again: why shall I go for that more expensive Samsung Agro drag hose if I can have the Horsch drag hose? And I did the same thing. Went up to the end of my field with a slurry spreader attached, had this thing attached, took one line with the Horsch and also made one trip with the Samsung Agro, and it turned out that the Horsch used 19,802 liters and the Samsung Agro 19,996 liters. So it's actually a little bit, the consumption was here a little bit higher despite the higher price. So yeah, it makes more sense to use the Horsch device here. What's also an advantage of the Horsch is the way it stands when it's disconnected. It stands like this, so it's the arms or the booms are spread a little bit. This is not the case with that Samsung one over here. These are very narrow together, and this causes some difficulties when you want to back up slurry tanks into that drag hose. For example, with these two Holmer devices, you will not fit into that. You cannot back up your devices into that drag hose. You need this one, which is spread up a little bit. They will connect if you wish to do so, but you need to unfold this thing first. Then you can disconnect it in an unfolded setting, and then you can attach the Holmer to it and then fold it again. This will work very fine. The hoses will connect to everything. Everything will work perfectly. But you need to unfold it first, and therefore you need another smaller, narrower slurry tank to do so. And I don't know. I don't think anybody will do that. And also, you will not let this stand around your farm spread open and use the 36 meters of space. I mean, that's the reason why you can't fold these to to use less space when you don't need them. So yeah, from my point of view, unless you have a very small farm where you cannot work with the 36 meter drag hoses, always go for the Horsch device. It will fit to all slurry tanks and it will work with all of them. Spend only these 35,000 euros. No reason to spend the 53,000 euros for the Samsung Agro device. Basically the other way around, like we had with the Injectors. There was the Horsch injector was more expensive than the Samsung Agro So the balance, the force is balanced between these two attachments. Moving on to the slurry spreaders, which need an attachment to work. So these slurry spreaders cannot spread by themselves. You always need to use one of the attachments. As I said, everything can be connected with each other, so you either go for the drag hose or the cultivators or the injectors, just as you wish. We will start with these two Holmer vehicles. First, we have here the Holmer Terra variant 435. 381,500 euros to buy, 16,000 liter tank, so 23 euros 84 per liter. Quite expensive. Right next to it, there is the Terra variant 585. I'm sorry for that, there was something wrong with my controller. Terra variant 583, 385,700 euros for the vehicle, plus an additional 70,000 euros for the 20,000 liter tank, which will result in 23 euros 70 per liter volume. You have the advantage with this one that you can change the attachment. You can change it to a manure spreader, or there are two auger wagons available which can be used with this one, which is good for this vehicle overall. And this one is basically only a very, very large slurry tank. These can discharge into your cell points, no problem, and these can also overload, sucking or pumping into other devices if you wish to do so. However, what these cannot do is be filled from the top. So for filling these with slurry, I drove under that edge silo over there and tried to fill them with slurry, and it did not work. So there's not a way of filling it from the top into the tank. All other tanks can do that. They give you the chance to do so. And I thought, okay, this is a modded vehicle. It's modded by Giant Software, but at the end of the day, it's still a mod. I'm on a modded map, No Man's Land from Alien Gym, and I used a modded silo. So I thought, okay, go to the official sell point at the edge of the map here, right next to the shop. Try to fill them there. Did not work. Okay, modded map, forget it. Go to Felsbrunn, try it there. So I went to my Felsbrunn save file, rented these, went to my BGA, tried to fill them with my digestate on my digestate tank, because the digestate fills from the top down into the tanks, and it did not work neither. So basically, if you want to use these, you need to have a second trailer, for example at your BGA, to be filled with your digestate, and then overload the digestate from that trailer into that Holmer vehicle. So although these are very nice looking pieces of equipment, it's with regards to the very high price of these, it's kind of hard to argue why shall I use them, to be honest. But that's just my personal opinion. If you like these and if you're willing to spend the money for it, go ahead, have fun with it. So we will now continue with the last slurry tanks, slurry spreaders. All of these do have attachment for the devices which we already talked about before. So the drag hoses, the cultivators, or the injectors. You can basically use everything you want with these, and you need to use it with these because these are not able to spread your slurry by themselves without these attachments. So we will start here with the Brewery Fieldmaster 20,000 liters of capacity, 172,000 euros to buy, so 8 euros 60 per liters. There's another 20,000 liter slurry tank, which is this one over here. This is the Samsung PG220, 20,000 liters yeah, of capacity, 93,000 euros to buy, resulting in 4 euros 65 per liter. And now I'm asking myself, why shall I go for this one? Only for the black color and the option to change the black to green, because that's basically everything what separates this tanker from this one over here. And it's hard for me to think of any reason why this tanker is so much more expensive than the other one. But just as I said before, I'm just evaluating the simple price performance factors here. If you want to go for the Prairie, go ahead, buy it. It's totally up to you. Furthermore, or further on in our evaluation are these other two Samsung tanks, the Samsung PG225 here and the 35 over here. This has 25,000 liters of capacity, and this has 34,500 euros of capacity. Overall, this tank is more expensive, of course. It's 185,000 euros to buy, and this one is 142,000 euros to buy. But in price performance ratio, this one is has a better rating. This one is 5 euros 36, and this one is 5 euros 68. Basically only because of the fact, because these are basically the same tanks. This one is just a little bit longer. So you have, with both tanks, you have three axles. 2 axles are steering. You have all the attachments, all the hoses, just like that. The only difference is, if you take a look at here, you have that box here, which is basically right next to the wheel. And with this tank, there is a meter or a meter and a half of space between it. So it's simply just a slightly longer tank, and that's why the slightly longer tank of course has a little bit more of material to it, so that's why a little bit more expensive. But the work to make that longer tank is not so much different from the work and all the equipment for that shorter tank. So that's why I can understand why in price performance ratio the larger tank is better than the slightly smaller tank. And the tank here with the 20,000 liters of volume, of course, only has 2 axles, so that's why it's overall less expensive than the other two over here. And now we will move on to the winner of this evaluation of slurry tanks. This is the Horsch Slurry Tanker 21,000. It's a slurry tank with 21,000 liters of capacity, and it has tracks. How cool is that? And the tracks do steer with your tractor. How cool is that? It's an amazing piece of equipment, and I really like it. It looks so cool, and it has the advantage of 21,000 liters of capacity. This is the same capacity like the semi-trailer from Horsch. So yes, these two pieces work really well together. This 21,000 liters tank costs 55,000 euros, so 2 euros 62, yeah, 2 euros 62 per liter volume. And that's it with regards to slurry tanks. This was the last of my sales advice in the game, because I went through all the equipment I wanted to go through. But this will not. So this will be the last one which I evaluated here, all the equipment one by one. But in my Let's Plays, which I will do some price performance evaluations as well. But in my Let's Plays, then I will also include some modded equipment, just to, well, keep it interesting. Yeah, that's it for today for slurry tanks. Thank you very much for your interest. Thank you very much for your attention. leave a like or leave a comment or leave both, and see you next time.